When I got into the social impact sector, I remember being so confused because there are so many different ways to describe a company doing good. You have CSR, you had social impact. The question then is, what's the difference between the two? There's some overlap. I just remember just kind of throwing my hands up, like I don't know how to best uh, differentiate these functions and didn't quite understand if there actually was a distinction between the two. And I remember having conversations with leaders and just people in the space, and my confusion was shared. There was no consensus on how we describe this stuff. So, for fun, I started thinking about like when it comes to all the different naming conventions that are currently out there, like social impact, ESG, sustainability, corporate philanthropy, CSR, and I'm probably missing a bunch of other ones. Like, how do we describe those functions or roles within a company? And so, what I started doing was looking at a marketing organization and how it is typically organized. At the top, you have the marketing organization, marketing being the umbrella term where all the other functions within the marketing org roll up into. We have growth marketing, content marketing, product marketing, brand marketing, PR, lifecycle marketing. But it's very clear. The marketing organization is very clear in terms of how it's structured, and it has a very clear name. But then when you think about doing good in the corporate sector, there are several names that describe specific things. You have sustainability, it has its own meaning. You have CSR, you have social impact, ESG, corporate philanthropy, and I'm probably missing some other terms used to describe a specific function of corporate good. But there is no glue that really binds these all together and perfectly describes the role of these functions in a corporation. And so I started thinking about what's the best name to describe these things. What I came to was corporate impact. This is not a revolutionary name. It's out there in the world. I'm sure people use it. But when you think about, at least when I think about the functions, corporate impact succinctly describes the roles of each of these functions: sustainability, CSR, social impact, ESG, corporate philanthropy, and basically any term used to describe some type of positive impact, doing good in the world from a corporate perspective. Corporate impact, to me, sums that all up very succinctly. And then, of course, you have the lead for corporate impact, which would be Chief Impact Officer or Chief Corporate Impact Officer. And ultimately, I just felt like this was a very succinct way of describing doing good as a corporation. And I can imagine using this in conversation, it makes it so much easier to understand what we're talking about. Because if you're going into a conversation and you're talking about corporate impact, okay, we know we're on the same page, corporate impact. Of course, now there are specific types of corporate impact, very similar to talking about marketing. Marketing is very broad, but there are specific types of marketing that you can have a conversation about, whether that's growth marketing or content marketing. And so I personally feel like corporate impact is a good way of describing the responsibilities and roles of these functions and kind of the why behind these functions. But I would love to hear your thoughts. Maybe you already have a term that you use to concisely describe all these functions, or maybe you've heard a term that somebody has used. I would love to know what that term is or terms are. I just want a clear way of describing all this work because, again, when I broke into the space, it was just so confusing and there was no consensus on how we describe all this stuff. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to share my thoughts and get your thoughts on this. So let me know what you think.